it's January 5th, 2026. So we're a little less than a year into Trump 2.0. And so I wanted to give y'all a quick reflection on the state of play with Trump 2.0. I think from a policy perspective, I think it's about what we thought it was going to be. The theory of the case was going to be his supposed economic uh, his supposed economic theory or plan was that, well, I'm going to make the tax cuts permanent for the upper class people. I'm going to do this tariff thing, which is going to encourage some jobs to come back to the United States. And I'm going to get rid of as many immigrants as possible so that you Americans can have those jobs. Um, I think many people, not just economists, but kind of just people of logic, thought that was kind of foolhardy, that plan. And that's where we're at. Now, he passed the bill, which again was their number one economic policy priority, which was for the wealthiest people and the upper class people's tax cuts to remain. And only increased the deficit because, and there was some cuts to the federal government, and most notably cuts to literally 25 million Americans' healthcare. And by the way, millions others, I think over 10 million, with SNAP. And so there'll be less. So some kids that only had 21 meals a month, who had 60 meals a month will only have 57 or 55 when they should have had over 100 meals in a month. And so more kids will starve. And so this economic house of cards has collapsed. It's passed, and there's no indication that it's going to work. We could have told you that, fam. And his numbers have reflected that. Americans are paying attention to this. I'm sort of surprised. And we'll talk about the politics of it in a second. So from a policy perspective, this is about where we thought we were going to be. I think in terms of the immigration enforcement, mass deportation, this is about right. I mean, it's sort of this odd way he's doing it in terms of going from different cities, the politics behind that, and demonizing blue cities and black mayors and black people and political leaders. Kind of this whack-a-mole kind of, you never know where I'm going to be next kind of thing. But the essence of the game plan is about what we thought, and it's been as terrorizing as possible. I think we have to give our I think it starts with these, just unsung heroes of this democracy in our country and our civil rights, these immigrant rights activists and people that have become immigrant rights activists through this process in Chicago and in places like DC and Charlotte, North Carolina and Denver, Colorado. And people said, we're just not going to deal with this, and have really fought back and pushed back and made the jobs of ICE agents as uncomfortable as possible. And they will be, as history will write, they're the real heroes. They're amongst the heroes of this story. There's not enough heroes, but they're amongst them. And the American people have responded. They have not enjoyed seeing this horror story in their phone every day, seeing these terrible images of people being treated like animals. And so I think from a policy perspective, he's got more pushback because of those dynamics. I think I could have anticipated from the mainstream and honestly by Latinos, because I think, beyond the "I told you so" crowd, I think Latinos that voted for him or at least did not believe this would be as horrific as it is. This has really been a slap in the face and a wake-up call. And I think as you see from the polling numbers, we've responded to that. So I think from a policy perspective, we're about where we're at. And I've said on other shows that I worry the most from a policy perspective about the Supreme Court, because they keep whittling away at our civil rights and our voting rights. And that's going to give us less and less capacity to respond, even in November and in 2028. In terms of the politics of it, he's in a weaker position than I thought he would be. He's a bâché. He's very unpopular. And I think, your bank account, your compra bill, and that horror story in your phone every day don't lie. And for some people, it was Epstein files. For some people, it's just been what it is. For some people, it was this weekend. This idea of what the hell are we doing going to Venezuela, a place I barely know. Most Americans know very little about, know little history, and know that all that's going to do is going to cost money and headaches, even if you don't care for human rights perspective or democratic perspective of the people of Venezuela. And so a lot of people triggered by that, especially people that understand the vestiges of colonialism, like in my community. This harkens back to 1898 when the United States military went on the shores of Guanica, Puerto Rico, and they haven't left since. It's 128 years. It'll be in the spring. And so, there's a lot of people very triggered by what's happening in this country on a lot of levels. So from a political perspective, let's just hope that Democratic Party, Democratic leaders can rise to this moment from a political perspective, electoral perspective in November. And let's just hope the Supreme Court doesn't make it all mute. Or Trump's nonsense, make it all mute. And that's to me a real concern, because from a political perspective, you're not going to be able to win much. I mean, look at the numbers, even surprise us, fam. Democrats winning in Iowa and all kinds of places, special elections, all kinds of things happening. So from a political perspective, we're in a better place I think we could have anticipated, including in the Latino electorate, where he's plummeted. He's lost 40% of his support very quickly. So people are paying more attention than I think we would have given him credit for, to be honest with you. I think we thought Latinos, there was more Latino Trump voters. He had a little bit of a stronger hold on him. It was pretty flaky. It was pretty flimsy, actually. And maybe that's why you don't vote for people, because you don't want to vote for a smart black lady fan. But that's another story.